The Psychology of Money. Part 2, Common Biases, the Traps We Fall Into. Episode 6, The Sure Thing Investment, Hindsight is 2020. Welcome back, English language learners. Have you ever looked back at something that happened and thought, I knew that was going to happen? Today's story explores this feeling with our friend Leo. The afternoon sun was warm, but a gentle breeze made it pleasant in the park. Leo sat on his favorite bench, not really looking at his English book. He was talking excitedly to Carlos, his classmate. And then, boom! The stock went up. I made a lot of money, Carlos. I knew it was going to happen. Leo exclaimed, gesturing with his hands. Carlos looked impressed. Wow, Leo. That's amazing. You're really good at this investment thing, huh? Leo puffed out his chest a little. Yeah, I have a good feeling about these things. I knew that company was going to do well. Their new product was great, and everyone was talking about it. It was a sure thing. Miss Reed, who had been tending to her flowers nearby, overheard their conversation. She walked over to the bench, a thoughtful expression on her face. That's wonderful that your investment did well, Leo, she said kindly. But you used some interesting phrases. You said you knew it was going to happen, and that it was a sure thing. Is that really how you felt before the stock went up? Leo hesitated for a moment. He remembered the feeling of uncertainty he had felt before investing. He had read a lot about the company, and there had been positive signs, but it was also a new product, and there was always the risk that it might not succeed. Well, I was pretty confident, Leo said, trying to sound sure of himself. I did my research, and I had a good feeling. But, there's always a bit of uncertainty. Exactly, Ms. Reed said gently. There's always risk involved in investments. Even the most promising ones. It's important to remember how we felt before we knew the outcome. Carlos looked confused. What do you mean, Ms. Reed? Ms. Reed sat down on the bench. Leo is experiencing something called hindsight bias. It's a common way our minds work. After something happens, we often change our memory of how we felt beforehand. We remember ourselves as being more certain, more confident, than we actually were. Leo frowned. So, I'm changing my memory? In a way, yes, Ms. Reed explained. Your brain is trying to create a clear story. Now that you know the investment was successful, your brain is saying, see? I knew it all along. It's like you're rewriting the past to make yourself feel like you made a perfect prediction. But why would my brain do that? Leo asked. There are a few reasons, Ms. Reed said. One reason is that it feels good to be right. It makes us feel smarter and more capable. Hindsight bias helps us protect our self-esteem. Another reason is that it helps us make sense of the world. Our brains like things to be predictable. When we say, I knew it would happen, it makes the world seem less chaotic and random. She picked up a small stone and showed it to Leo and Carlos. Imagine I throw this stone in the air. Before I throw it, there are many possibilities. It could go high, it could go low, it could land near us, or far away. But once it lands, there is only one outcome. Hindsight bias makes us think that, before I threw it, we knew exactly where it would land. Carlos nodded slowly. I think I understand. It's like after a football match. People say, "Oh, I knew that team was going to lose," even if they weren't so sure before the game. That's a perfect example, Carlos, Ms. Reed said. People often say, "I told you so," after the result, even if they had doubts before. They forget the uncertainty they felt. They change their memory of their prediction. Leo thought about his investment again. He remembered talking to Mateo about it. Mateo had been more cautious. Mateo had said, "It looks promising, but it's still a risk. We don't know for sure what will happen." Leo had been more excited, but he hadn't been completely certain. Now, after the stock went up, he only remembered his excitement, not his uncertainty. So, hindsight bias makes us forget the risk? Leo asked. Exactly, Ms. Reed said. And that can be dangerous, especially when it comes to investments. If you believe you always knew what would happen, you might become overconfident. You might take bigger risks in the future, thinking you can always predict the outcome. You might forget that you could lose money. Leo felt a bit uncomfortable. He realized that he was already starting to think about his next investment. He had been feeling very confident after his success, but now he understood that some of that confidence was just hindsight bias. So, how can I avoid this bias? Leo asked. It's difficult to completely eliminate it, Ms. Reed said. It's a natural part of how our brains work. But we can learn to be more aware of it. One thing you can do is to keep a record of your predictions before you know the outcome. Write down how you feel, how certain you are, and what the risks are. Then, after the event, you can compare your original prediction with what actually happened. This can help you see how your memory might be changing. She paused and looked at Leo and Carlos. It's also important to use the right language. Instead of saying "I knew it would happen," try saying "I thought it might happen," or "I believed it was likely to happen." These phrases show that you understood there was uncertainty. Leo looked at Carlos. "I guess I shouldn't have said it was a sure thing." Carlos nodded. "Yeah, maybe we should all be more careful with our words when we talk about the future." Ms. Reed smiled. "That's a very good lesson. Remember, the past often seems clearer than the future. Hindsight is 20/20, as they say. But that doesn't mean we can accurately predict everything. We need to be humble about our predictions and remember that there is always an element of risk." She stood up, brushing off her hands. The most successful investors are not the ones who think they know everything. They are the ones who understand risk, who make careful predictions, and who learn from both their successes and their failures. And they remember how they felt before they knew the outcome. As Ms. Reed walked back to her flowers, Leo and Carlos sat in silence for a moment, thinking about what she had said. Leo realized that he had been so focused on the feeling of being right that he had forgotten the feeling of uncertainty. He had let hindsight bias make him feel smarter than he actually was. "I'm going to start writing down my predictions," Leo said finally. "I don't want to get too confident and make a bad decision." Carlos nodded. "Me too. And I'm going to try to use better phrases, like 'I thought it might happen.' It sounds more honest." They both looked at Ms. Reed. Leo realized that Ms. Reed's wisdom, like the water she gave her plants, was helping him to grow, not just as an English student, but also as someone trying to understand the world of money and investments. He was learning that remembering the past accurately, with all its uncertainties, was an important step towards making better decisions in the future. He was learning to be more honest with himself about what he really knew. We hope you enjoyed today's story and that it helped you practice your English listening skills. If you did, please give this video a like. And if you want to hear more stories and lessons to improve your English, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.